I'm the taxi driver. This, my friends, is Suzanne Dhaliwal. I say that right?
Yeah, you did. That's fine.
I've just been speaking to Suzanne about tar sands. But earlier on, I put up that I was going to interview Suzanne onto like a social network thing. And there was some... very difficult to say it, but very misogynistic, sexist things that were written.
Pretty graphic.
How do you feel about that?
I feel a bit weird, actually. It was a bit shocking, because I haven't been objectified in that way in my work. I've been used as a token brown person for campaigns at organisations, or other ways, but I haven't been sexualised in that way, so it was really, really quite disturbing.
I feel quite ashamed, but at the same time, is something that whenever I've, because I've been doing these interviews, whenever I've interviewed a woman, there's always snide comments. There's always, there's never not been one time, generally on the YouTube channel. No, not so much on the other, but...
Yeah, I mean, not to quote myself, but like the other day there was this thing all about MIA too, and that like, oh, she does all this humanitarian stuff, but she said it from her, fancy house in LA or whatever, and there's this different kind of standard or something that's put on women of colour speaking out as well. It's just like, and normally it's more like, you're supposed to be completely morally pure, and if you work on oil, then you shouldn't drive a car, and you shouldn't wear leather, or all this stuff. And that's quite, no one ever questions Madonna. They're like, oh, Madonna's doing an amazing
I think people do
thing.
question Madonna.
Do they? Not as much though.
But I think one of the things is how I see it is I see this whole misogyny thing, like whenever, especially people on the left, especially liberal people, that it seems it's awful. To me, misogyny is the base, it's the root of all abuse in our society, within humanity. We have control things through religion, through schooling, through education, through home life, through parenting.
Yeah. It's completely... I think it's also that we think, oh, we're in 2013 now, it's gone, it's invisible. And, you mentioned yourself too, it's hard to call it out. It's hard. How do you even question it? How do you take on some, like, bully thug who's, like, wolf whistling at a woman? It's impossible, almost. I think some of the best people who do it are comedians. Yeah. And they call it out in a good way. But it's difficult. We're not in a culture at the moment that when you are ready to question racism or sexism or misogyny, that it's safe to do it. People get so defensive, and it's like, yeah, you're going to have to stop and think about yourself and your behaviours and what you're doing, and it's really difficult for people to accept that they might be taking on oppressive behaviours that they themselves think they're trying to stop in the world, or that they don't manifest in the world. So it's deep psychology to...
Well, I think it's something. It's a personal thing. I think it's something that you have to question within yourself on a daily basis. That either you're not complicit in it, or you're not doing it. But to me, it's like it's so inherent within our society. It starts at the top. We have, like what I said to you, all white government. Carla said to me, it's all white government, all male government, all rich government. It's from the top down. Yeah.
And it's difficult, and it's in every sphere. It's like it's even in like radical spaces like climate activism. Most of the time, a lot of people who are in powerful positions, who are calling a lot of the shots, it's white middle class males, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of my best friends are white middle class males. It's just that then you get this homogeny of thinking, you get this homogeny of thought. And when there is one or two people who are ready to call it out, then you haven't got an ally to call it out with. So these spaces are getting more and more just one way of thinking, and it's really difficult to open it up. It takes some courage, it takes some balls to actually call out those spaces, and to try and insect some colour, some more women, so that, when this misogyny does happen, at least there's a few other people who can call it out. But at the moment, it's just...
A lot of people were saying, like, the opening line of Russell Brand's Revolution was, it was because a beautiful woman asked me. And a lot of people said that they stopped reading at that point in the first line.
Yeah, I don't know, but like Russell Brand's a comedian, right? And he's playing the fool. He's playing up a lot of this stuff, and at least he's.
I mean, I think he's fantastic. I mean, to me, like,
it's that, you know what that is though. It's like there's this phrase that's like the coyote pisses on moral purity.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes
the coyote pisses
on moral purity. It's like sometimes when you're doing something good in the world, it doesn't always look what your normal moral code might look like. Like, I'm stuck in the tar sands, right? I might need to get on a plane. I might need to do things that don't fit in the normal moral construct. And that doesn't mean I'm not part of the solution or part of it. And if we get too, like, sort of didactic, oh, well, you're a revolutionary because you look like this and you look like me and you're vegan, we're going to, like, have this really boring revolution. But do
you think that it's I mean, it's a problem for people like of the left that they get stuck in this sort of like arguing about?
I think it's like any movement, right? It's like you recreate the society that you come from. So, you know, and a lot of the time with the movement, it's like it's a non-hierarchical space. That assumes that we've all deconstructed our sexism, we've all decolonised. We've all come to this enlightened space that we can actually be non-hierarchical. And what happens is you have natural leadership, you have natural things that emerge. And if you can't question that, if you can't self-reflect and see that you're replicating those same things of society, that's when it gets stuck, and that's when you get.
Well, I mean, nobody's perfect, but I mean, but the Tories and this government's agenda with racist fans, this is something that. They're trying to bleed into, you know, Frankie Boyle said to me that racism, it comes from the top. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Like those vans that were going around.
And the text messages and...
Yeah, and it's weird because I moved back to England from Canada because I was tired of the racism in Canada, and I thought, well, at least in England you can have conversations about it and people are, you know, a bit more mindful of it. And I think there is some of that, but I think because, you know, there is this sense, oh, well, we gave the colonies back and look, all the brown people now, they're in the corner stores and they've got jobs. There's this sense that racism is over, and I think it's more subtle now and it's more insidious in a way.
You said, I got a quote that I wrote down that Suzanne said to me when we were just chatting. It says, it's hard for white people to think brown people might have solutions.
Yeah, I think I was talking about sort of, you know, it's specifically around climate movement and the climate justice movement. At the moment we're at, like in Canada, the only way to stop the extraction of tar sands is through asserting the rights of Indigenous people. And I think that's something that is going to take a long time for people to understand at times, because to think that, you know, people of colour might have those solutions in their hand, it's hard to think. You think, oh no, my clever climate report or whatever, my lobbying, that's going to do it. So there's a whole decolonisation that has to go into aid, and all these systems that we're working with, you know, it itself has to go through.
But this is something, to me, this is, I mean, this kind of, I was talking about Nietzsche the other, and I said it to you about this way that British nationalism and the herd morality, the way they say they get us all together in a group. Look, we're good. We're the good guys. We play cricket. You know, we play by these rules. We're civilized. They're not. Them ones over there, look at them, look at their cultures, look at their things. And this is the war machine. This is how it goes around the world, displacing people for resources, for mining. This is the media. Yeah,
and I think that's what makes it hard to self-reflect, because you've been told you're good, you've been told you're on the good side, and if you're working in an NGO, if you're working for good, doing the good work, then it's even harder to reflect and to have that moment. And it's, I don't know how you break out of it. I'm trying, even just having a chat like this, that we can be open about it.
But that's the point of view of racism, isn't it? The racist thinks that they're the good ones. You know, the sexist thinks that, you know, what's the problem?
Yeah.
What's the problem? And I think that the way that media reflects that, the way that the media plays within cinema, within...
music videos.
It's you know, it feeds into everything that, you know, the way that toys are divvied out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's your Barbie.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to respond to some of those comments. Let's see.
Well, I think one of the things is I've wanted to talk to somebody. I've been trying to get someone that I really wanted to interview about sexism, about misogyny, because it's a really difficult place.
Yeah.
For it puts me in a really like a completely complex and complicated place, because I never know how to react to it, apart from despising the people. But I'm so shocked by it. I get shocked by it. I still get shocked by it.
That's good that you even get shocked by it. A lot of people don't even get shocked by it. Like, it's kind of so normalised, and just sharing your experience and your shock and your responses to it in the moment, like, that's such a powerful thing to do. And it's,
I mean the way that, like, Caroline Lucas with the page 3, where she stood up in the thing and he said to her, "Can you put your jacket back on?"
See, I wondered about that thing with Caroline Lucas, because I think it was great. Stopping page 3 does give messed up ideas about women, but at the same time it's part of this no burqas and no bikinis, I call it. It's like, often it's liberal white women telling women you can't wear bikinis and you can't wear like burqas. So often it's a lot of women speaking for a lot of other women too, and there should be a bit more range of like ownership on that in terms of redefining feminism as well, because it's often like, well, if you're a feminist then you should, have hairy armpits, and especially an environmental feminist, no way I should be wearing a leather jacket and like, any of this stuff. So it becomes really didactic too as well within the feminist movement, and from other white women it gets prescribed on me as well on how I should dress and how I should be a feminist. So it all starts layering up.
I'm the artist taxi driver. This, my friends, has been the incredible Suzanne Dhaliwal. Dhaliwal?
Dhaliwal.
Dhaliwal.